This is CHSTV News.
Morning Cathedral. I'm Alexandria with your morning announcements for Friday, March 19th. Let's start the show with a message from Mr. Cappadocia.
Good morning, Cathedral. Yesterday, I was challenged by Mr. Walker to eat a beet, and so here I am. As an English teacher, I wanted you to be aware that beets have also had a presence in poetry. In the 1940s and the 50s, a new generation of poets rebelled against the conventions of mainstream vegetables, big vegetable. They became known as the Beet Generation. The Beet Generation helped to spearhead a cultural vanguard reacting against institutionalized vegetables, values, materialism, and conformity. A modern-day beet poet writes about beets. Beets are an interesting vegetable. They have some punch to them. They're kind of an active vegetable. They're bright red and ugly and have a lot of flavor to them and do weird things to your metabolism. They make their presence known in this world. And so I would like to read some beet poetry to you now. I got a poem here called Ode to a Beet by Sworn Gill. It's been described as an emotional time bomb that would continue exploding the tuber industrial nationalist complex. I hope this poem doesn't bore you. And we would like to start, but to do this properly, we really need to have the full experience. We need some atmosphere, so if I can get some a beat and some atmosphere lighting. Oh, and I need to make sure I can see my poem. There we go. Ode to the Beet by Sworn Gill. Let this poem sing the praises of the beet, a finer vegetable you will not meet. Not bland, not mushy, but delicate treat, displaying the best of a savory and sweet. The ways to make it are vast and wide, pickled, steamed, stewed, and deep fried. Its color is bright, a purplish red, so I don't recommend eating beets in bed. Though I'm not Keats, nor Shelley or Byron, I can tell you beets are a good source of iron. To find lovers of beets, just go to Ukraine. Did you know that beets are good for the brain? By increasing blood flow and rates of decay, things like dementia will long stay away. And research shows, yet science, not rumor, stuff found in beets slows the growth of a tumor. It's got folate, fiber, phosphorus, magnesium, full of vitamin C, B6, a great source of potassium. And if the beetroot just isn't your scene, then I ask you to turn your gaze to the greens. If you thought they were trash, I got a surprise. They're delicious soup and great for your eyes. It's a good accompaniment is something you seek. Try a fellow overlooked. If good accompaniment is something you seek, try a fellow overlooked flavorful leek. So get you some beets wherever they're serving. At least you can pee some reddish urine. Okay, and now for the main event, I'm going to eat the beet. Miss Sweeney inspired me. This beet challenge is about eating beets in their raw goodness. I'm not going to cook it. I'm not going to make it into anything. I am going to eat this beet. Well, it's not bad. Kind of woody. A little bit of sweetness, chewy, lots of fiber. I'm sure that will help. And the other thing with beets is you got to remember you eat them. You've eaten them, because if you don't, you can get a surprise later on. So that's it for today. I have to challenge somebody. As you can see, I'm wearing this sweater that Mr. Wu has provided to a lot of the staff. So I am challenging Mr. Wu to eat a beet.
Morning. I would like to thank Mr. Lepore for nominating me for the Beet Challenge. And as such, I think what I have to do is get into a little bit of a character here. So now, it's going to be difficult for me not to break out into my second language here, Newfoundlandese. I'll hopefully keep it understandable, because I was told I'm not going to be subtitled here for this. You see, I got right teary-eyed just thinking about how many fellow Newfoundlanders would be some jealous of me this morning, given the honor that was bestowed upon me to give toast to the beat. I will say that unlike most Newfoundlanders, Mr. Lepore did indeed pronounce the name of the province I came from correctly. Congratulations, sir, on your elocution lessons. There is one thing, however, I don't think Mr. Lepore fully understood before nominating me. Supposedly, this is called a challenge, a beat challenge. As such, it became right obvious to me at the nanosecond that Lepore nominated me that he never visited Newfoundland. I knew this because the lowly beet, as is sometimes referred to here in the mainland, is a staple of a true Newfoundland diet. As a matter of fact, it still can be considered to be one of the 7 food groups of the island. Never mind that for now. As Mr. Lepore orated in his best biology's binomial nomenclature diatribe, that would maybe fool the basic uneducated root vegetable lovers among us, he did forget to mention the trilingual scientific identification of the Newfoundland beet, and that is, beets are a rockin'. But in Newfoundland, we just call it BAR. There are some interesting things about the Newfoundland beet, and I can't get into all of them. But one thing, it can even be eaten with other things. Imagine that now. Just think sitting down for a feed like you would, and someone offered you some Newfoundland beet, mustard, potato salad, and cod tongues. Oh my God. Me mouth is just watering. Something shocking just thinking about that. Wicked. And you haven't even eaten till you had a feed of Jig's dinner with a few of Miss Maggie's Newfoundland pickled beets, my son. And they make 'em big on the rock. Some say it must be the moist, ultra-warm, temperate climate and the truly exceptional ideal soil conditions mixed with the copious amounts of granite in the ground, plus some spiked Jamaican fertilizer to help offset the natural nutrients. Just recently, Ray Wheaton of Broad Cove in Conception Bay North grew a lucky 13-pound beet recently and was declared the beet king of Conception Bay for a week. He's buddies in heart content, and that other unnamed spot were some jealous. Imagine that now. I heard another interesting fact that eating raw beets or drinking beet juice helps combat garlic breath. Now, I suppose one could say that's like saying eating black licorice is great for cleaning your teeth after you've been chewing on charcoal for a while. Who knows? Why, even Miss O'Keefe over there has relatives who hail from the small island of Newfoundland called Bell Island. Apparently, as the rumor goes, it was debated to call it Beet Island, but the locals feared that the people from Newfoundland would storm their tiny little island looking for the treasured root, and Bell was dropped. Anyway, luckily, I'm at the end of my little spiel here, and I have to do a little eat on the thing here first, so let me see. Okay. Let's have a she here go. Oh my God, that's good. I'm under control, I can't stop. Okay. Wow. That is some shocking good. Now, keeping with the challenge, I guess I have to nominate somebody, so looking at that other giant of a person in the scientific community, I'm going to look at some physical specimen by the name of Mr. LaRock, and hopefully he will accept this, and we'll see him here shortly. All right, have a good day.
Thanks, sir. Grade 11 students who wish to run for the position of Student Council President have until the end of the day to request an application form. Grade 11s can access the nomination information from their grade level LMS. Students interested in running must email Mr. Trabucco at trabuccom@hwcdsb.ca by the end of the day. He will then forward you a nomination form that is due on Monday. Candidate election speeches will be played here on CHSTV on Wednesday, March 31st and Thursday, April 1st. Voting will take place starting on Wednesday, March 31st, and all students will have until April 5th to cast their vote for the next Student Council President. There are specific requirements that students must meet in order to run for Student Council President. All of that information is posted on the grade 11 LMS. Nomination forms for all other student council positions will take place in late May. Monday is also the deadline to register for the 2021-2022 school year. If you haven't already, you must pay your $40 activity fee on School Cash Online and choose your courses on Path to Success. And to end off our show, I'll pass it over to Ms. Salcicholi.
Hi everyone, Ms. Salcicholi here, Head of Science for A Moment of Science. In honor of all things Irish this week, I thought this would be a fantastic opportunity to talk about Jocelyn Bell Burnell. So Dr. Burnell is a personal hero of mine. I got a chance to see her speak 3 years ago. She was amazing, funny, and brilliant. I'd like to pass it over now, and a special thanks to Mr. Trabucco for helping to edit this. So this is Jocelyn Bell Burnell's story. But just before I go, for all of those Joy Division fans, and I think I'm talking to staff here, the iconic Unknown Pleasures album cover, that graphic is actually radio wave data of the phenomenon she discovered. So there's a music connection here too. Okay, thanks so much. Enjoy the video.
Women were not expected to be anything other than sex objects, wives, mothers, housewives. You weren't expected to have any brain, you weren't expected to have any career. Getting married was the goal. I was quite convinced I wasn't clever enough to be in Cambridge and that they would throw me out at some stage. But my policy was to work as hard as I could so that when they threw me out, I'd know I'd done my best. Big-ish stars end their lives with a catastrophic explosion. The material that's exploded goes off into space, and we are left with this shrunk core now spinning quite rapidly, and that's basically how the pulsar comes into being. They swing a beam of radio waves around the sky, a bit like a lighthouse. And when that beam shines in your eyes, so to speak, or on a radio telescope, you pick up a pulse. So it's going pulse, 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 pulse. The radio telescope, this particular one, really looks like an agricultural frame, what you might grow peas up or something like that. But there's 4 acres of it, so that's about 57 tennis courts, so it's huge. Not visually attractive in any sense, no nice bowl-shaped thing the way some radio telescopes have, so it looked quite primitive. One of the things that a large radio telescope does is pick up human-generated interference, and one of the things I had to do was to identify what was interference and what was the quasars that I was meant to be looking at. Just occasionally there would be something that I couldn't recognize and I'd record it with a question mark. And obviously at some level this lodged in the back of my mind, because after it had appeared a few times, my brain said, "You've seen something like this before, haven't you?" And I knew this was distinctly unusual. I didn't know what it was. But I took the trouble to phone Tony Hewish, my supervisor, who was teaching in an undergraduate laboratory in the university that afternoon. And after a few minutes he came to the telephone and I told him it was a string of pulses 1 1/3 seconds apart. And he said, that settles it. It's man-made. And in one sense he was right, because that's just the kind of interference you might get from somebody's electrical equipment in the next door lab. But what he hadn't folded in was that this was keeping its place amongst the stars. Tony came out to the observatory the next day at the appropriate time and stood looking over my shoulder and saw the pulses come in with his own eyes. He became more convinced then. So the next job was to see if another telescope with its own receiver could pick up these signals. So we went and stood by the pen recorder for this other radio telescope, and nothing happened. It was a horrible moment. It didn't appear. And we'd walked away along this long, long lab, and suddenly there was a shriek from Robin, "Here it is!" We came charging back up, and there it was. We had miscalculated by 5 minutes when that telescope would see it. If we'd miscalculated by 25 minutes, we'd have all gone home, and the story would be different. This was the first time astrophysicists had won the Nobel Prize. My contemporaries were probably more upset than I was, and one of them labelled it the No-Bell Prize as opposed to Nobel Prize. But it was fine by me, and I was really rather proud that it was my stars that had convinced the prize committee that there was good physics in astrophysics.
To a woman scientifically proven to be the real deal, Jocelyn Bell Burnell.
This breakthrough prize happened very recently. I got an email from a US physicist, a very famous US physicist, Ed Witten, saying, could we have a telephone call? And he told me I'd won this prize, $3 million US. That breakthrough prize money is now being administered by the Institute of Physics. I was keen that the money should be used in a way to increase the diversity in physics.
Thanks, Miss. And those are all of your announcements for today, Cathedral. Have a great weekend, Gales, and thanks for watching.